Welcome to the Bayou City Soccer Podcast. Whether inside or outside the loop, we are talking everything soccer in Houston. Y'all ready? Let's get it.
Welcome into a special episode of the Bayou City Soccer Podcast. We're pleased to be joined today by Houston Dynamo FC head coach Ben Olsen. Ben, thanks for taking the time. How are things?
My pleasure. Things are okay. Yeah, things are just here prepping for a what could be a wild 2 weeks. It's gonna come fast and furious, and we're gonna need everybody. So we're all kind of a little bit of calm before the storm.
Yeah, this May, it seems like for this World Cup break, it's game after game after game for you guys. Yeah, you look at, so far this season, early in 2026, but you guys have had about a third of the season in so far. What have you seen from this group early in this season? What do you think this team is starting to show and identify?
Yeah, some good, some bad, I think progress, some confusion and question marks still in who we are and where we're going. And I think some of that is natural. Some of that has taken, again, to really solidify exactly who we are has taken a little longer than we thought. But as you kind of figure that out and the twists and turns, it's important to grab points. And I think that part we've been able to do and be fairly effective at home. And that's really, some of the early goals are start picking up points again at home and making sure we protect Shell Energy. Again, keep every week figuring out who we are, build a deep squad with the season that is upon us. The depth is real, all these Wednesday games with Open Cup. And then on the back end, it gets even more serious in how many midweek games there are. It's just the nature of this season. It's a little bit different. So within that process, we've gotten a lot of guys different minutes and different looks. And hopefully, again, on the backside of this season, we're going to benefit from a lot of this soul searching.
And you talked a little bit about it already, about the identity, but, you've been here. This is your fourth season with the team, coach. Is the team closer, right now to the identity you've been trying to build since you arrived?
Well, I think our identity right now is going to be different than what the identity is coming out of the summer. I think we deal with what we have and how we think we can get results with the group we currently have, and that group changes week to week. So it's not always, and within that we're figuring out some new guys and where they fit. And we're dealing with injuries and red cards just like everybody else. So. Again, I know nobody wants to hear that. Are we where we need to be? No, we're not. But what I will say is our group has some moxie. We have some grit. We've been able to manage points in tough games against tough opponents. The schedule, we've played some good teams. I think that's an important part to talk about, as maybe some of the X's and O's, we aren't exactly this is who we are for the rest of the year. And we've been in and out of a 5-back and a 3-back. The identity of being able to win games and have more personality than we did last year, I'd check that box. And I think that's one of the most important things to have is a winning spirit. And I think we're starting to figure what we're good at, what we're bad at, when we're going astray, and it's been a good month so far.
You guys added a bunch of new players this offseason, 2 new designated players in Guilherme and Mati Bogish. What have you seen from this group? Other guys growing, new guys coming in. What have you seen from this group and just their evolution?
They're trying to build relationships, and again, as we keep switching and different guys are around them, that part becomes slow as well. But we're starting to see some fruit from those minutes with certain guys. Guilherme had a flying start, mostly just because he's so damn talented, and I think he caught some teams by surprise. And then you're not a surprise anymore, and teams now circle your name and get after you and bring doubles, and now he has to figure out kind of what the next phase of how he can be effective both individually, and then how he can fit into the different types of structures to be effective again and get on the board. And by being effective, I mean scoring. And he's an attacking player, and we need goals from him. We need goals from Matty Bogusz. We've talked about that. We haven't hid behind that, and we need more goals from Ponce. This is the reality, and it's our job collectively to get them goals, but also individually they have to work on a few things to put themselves in, and have the quality to see out some plays.
And you mentioned obviously different dynamics every single week with injuries and all that. But for you, what does consistency actually look like on your weekly basis? Is there driven points that you have? There have to be standard, week in, week out, depending on the opponent. Obviously changes, but
It changes every week. And we have, again, some of our principles will stay the same, and what we want to look at. But even that is continuing to change. Again, you see it. It's a five. It's a four. It's a 4-1-4-1. We played in a 4-4-2. We played a 4-2-3-1. We've played a back 5-3-2. We've played a 5-2-3, right? Those are just numbers, though, guys. Like, then the game happens, and then you get back to making plays and looking after your teammate, and being collective in what the game plan is defensively and offensively. And so, we those don't kind of change, and how we hold these guys to a standard. But within that, there's been, because we've moved around, so much. I think that's halted some of the progress of where I eventually see this team being after a full preseason with a lot of data and information from this first part of the year, and going into into the next season, and using that preseason to really solidify how we're going to go about what is a lot of games left. I think there's 18 games in the final section of this season. So that's kind of how I see this thing unfolding.
and going into this match coming up for you this weekend on Sunday against LAFC, how do you prepare your team going into away matches like this? What becomes priority, coach? Structure, mentally, just execution? I know it has its
You
own
don't, you,
difficulties, right?
yeah, you don't get to choose one of those three, you know, not away at LAFC. You don't say, oh, execution today, guys. It's going to be more about the structure. It's going to be, you need it all to win on the road in this league. And sometimes, yes, you lean on one of those a little bit more, by nature of the game and how it plays out. And maybe it's a day where we're cleaner on the ball, and we have more chances in front of goal. It's about being more clinical and making good decisions in the final third. Maybe it's a day where things aren't going our way, and we're absorbing more pressure than we thought we would. Then it's about, maybe some of the resiliency and some of the box defending, and group, just being more gutsy and making a few plays that really matter. So, yeah, I know I'm maybe not answering some of your questions, guys, but I wish I had some of the answers that you guys, want. And it's like, yes, this, and this. It's a complex game, and we are, I think we've we've sampled a lot of different things, and we're getting clearer. The last game I thought was our best performance from in some of the things you talked about, the technical side, the group defending, the tactical side. I thought they did a very good job, both the coaches and the players, of following a game plan, limited them to very few shots. And so I thought it was a step in the right direction to be closer to who we're going to be.
Yeah, you guys still alive in the U.S. Open Cup as well. I know you've talked about a lot how much that tournament means to you. You won it as a player. You've won it multiple times as a coach now. As you get to the quarterfinals now, you're in that, okay, we got a real shot at this, right? Just what does that competition mean as it's coming up here, that trip to St. Louis?
It means a great deal to us. LAFC means a great deal to us. Salt Lake's going to mean a great deal to us, Vancouver, and then we can deal with the Salt Lake. So that's 3 games to that have 2 games, 2 days in between. And then that game in St. Louis is on a Tuesday after a Saturday. There's 2 more days that you get to recover, right? So the only thing I could say in that is, yes, it's important. They're all important, and we're going to go after every one of them and try to do it. But yes, you start to, especially with the 2 days in between, you do have to try to map some of this out. And then you map it out and you have a great plan. And then all of a sudden, LAFC, you get a suspension and things happen. And then that changes your plan. And that's what this is. So it'd be silly to think about too much about the St. Louis game right now when we have so much. But I will answer your question. It's very important. We want to win the Open Cup. We want to advance, and we want to put our best foot forward there. But we also want to do that against Vancouver at home 2 days before that. And so it's going to take everybody. So the short answer is everybody's going to have to contribute over the next 2 weeks if we're going to have success. And what does success look like over the course of these next 5 games? One of the things is advancing in the Open Cup. When we talk about what does this look like heading into the break, being in the semis is part of that success.
Yeah, I'll just dig a little deeper here. Not just on specifically the St. Louis game, coach, but just the competition. I think we saw a little bit of it in the past game against Louisville, but what is it about a knockout soccer, that reveals a different side of a team?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you go about the games in different ways sometimes. I think that the Open Cup journey is so interesting in that um, each game becomes a little bit turned up, in both in who you play and intensity of now we're 2 games, 3 games away from holding a trophy. Uh, but I talk about threading the needle early of making sure you're giving these guys some experience and playing at that, a quote unquote second group to keep minutes and get sharp and prove to us that they are at the level to knock on the door of that first team. And then that kind of each game changes a little bit. And it's a fascinating tournament to me. I love it. Maybe having some success in it has helped me, push my love for the Open Cup. But I think it's neat when, teams, whether it's amateur or, second division teams, first division teams get to go against MLS teams and make these Cinderella runs. I'm just a romantic with it, and I got a lot of love for the Open Cup, and it's important to this club as well as we've had success here, and I think this club has done a good job of treating it with the respect it deserves.
And there's been a lot of talk about the young kids, right? The academy, where's all the young Houston kids, and we're starting to see with Dynamo 2, these kids are getting close, right? These kids are growing. There's a lot of talent on that Dynamo 2 team, and even younger into the academy. What do you need to see from these guys? Arana, we saw him get a start, but what are you guys as a coaching staff, you guys looking for them when they make this next step? I know it's a big step to MLS, right? But making that big step to the first team.
Watching trainings, we do a good job of bringing these guys into the fold during the week that you guys don't necessarily see. We're watching every D2 game and making sure they are above that league, right? We talk about that league being, it's a good league. It's a good developmental league, right? Are you the best player on the field when you're playing St. Louis? And when you're going to play the second team in Austin, do you stand out? And that's what we're looking for them to now be, thinking about them being ready to go on the field with the first team. So we combine that. We combine that with the trainings and how they do when they're training and playing 8v8 versus, our starters to stack them up against them. And then, who they are as a person, their maturity, and when the lights come on, or are they a kid we're ready to rely on in a critical season for, everybody here. Those are some of the things we think about.
And Ben, I think we've asked this or a similar question to Dynamo 2 coaches in the past, like Marcelo and Jeremy currently. But how do you guys balance, the development, as well as with the demands of winning, especially in the first team?
Well, this idea of winning is not important in development. I'm just not a fan of. Um, it just doesn't resonate with me. Um, However, it's less important there than it is for me to win and for our first team to win, because the standards are different and the expectations are different. So, um, but winning's important, and so you do that and develop. I think you can do them at the same time if you're doing this right. And because development is, of course, it's technical and it's tactical, but there's a mental side to development too. And what else are you really developing if not a winning spirit, in the mind and being good when the lights come on and making plays that matter. That's all winning based. So, uh, again, it's another question, Rudy. I know I'm not ducking, but it's like there's you know A, B, C to development. I don't know. I don't necessarily live in development. I live in trying to win, and but I know those guys have done a very good job. Take this opportunity to say what a good relationship we have with D2, and you guys know this, Dustyn and Rudy. You've seen this here. It's one of our, I think, superpowers at this club. It's our relationship from academy to D2 to the first team, and so much. I got two former head coaches from D2 on my staff, helping me every day. So that that's again, I think one of the greatest parts about this club.
Yeah, Coach, you've been in Houston, it feels like a long time now, but 4 years in Houston. I think Houstonians, there's a lot of pride in Houston. I think you're pretty much a Houstonian now, right? What, being in Houston, just this experience and being in Houston, what have you learned, not just as a coach, but just, as a person?
It's just been so wonderful for me and my family to see a different side of this country, and see a different culture and live in Texas. I never thought I'd be living in Texas in my life. I'm a Northeast kid, and I've been there for all my life. I was strangely in DC with one organization for 20 years. So my road has been a little bit different. And then to pick up and take this, my family to Texas, it was a big move. It was a big move. And, there's some nerves that come along with that. Anytime you pull up, pull roots up and you bring your, freshman and high school girl to, a new state, and there's some of that family stuff, but it's been wonderful. It's been wonderful. Um, the Southern hospitality is real. I felt welcome. And even the people that don't like me and disagree with what I'm doing here, or yell at me at the stadium, it's still I still feel that I'm valued here, and slowly, hopefully, winning some people over here at the Dynamo. And again, as far as off the field, it's been a great place to live. It's dynamic. It's super diverse. So in a lot of ways, that stuff isn't real a big change from where I was at in Washington, D.C. Yeah, we're happy. 4 years has gone by very quickly. It does seem like just yesterday that I got here, and it's overall I'm very pleased with being here. And yeah, I don't know if I answered your question. Do you have any more specifics on that? Happy to answer.
Yeah, I guess I was gonna mention, what the city and its fans base taught you, but I think you hit a lot on that. I don't know if you want to go in deeper and the
Really, I
diff
don't know. I look. I think fan bases, the fan base in DC, I think fan bases are pretty consistent. They want to be, they expect a lot. They expect when they put down hard-earned money to come see your team play, their team play, one that I'm in charge of, that they give that they feel like these players are maximizing and putting out the effort that resonates with, the people that show up, a style that resonates with them. And again, we can argue sometimes it's been that, sometimes it's not been that. And I think by and large over the 4 years, we've done a pretty good job of that. And our teams are hardworking. They give every weekend. They're selfless. And I can't remember a time where this team has folded and gave up and didn't have the spirit that I believe Houstonians believe in. Has it always been at the highest quality? No, but that's soccer. That's how the ups and downs of this of professional sports go. So yeah, I don't know. It's I hope to be here for a while and continue to grow on some of the things I think I've helped to build here, both on the field, but also a lot of things that you guys don't see in the culture here, and I think it's a very healthy place to come to work. I think the collaboration from bottom to top is really good, and now we just got to continue getting results here and put ourselves in the postseason.
Yeah, Ben, I know you're a coach first and foremost, but probably above that, you're a dad, right? And your son is getting to play now in the academy. As a dad and as a coach, do you have two different hats when you get to watch him play? Is it hard to separate that? And do you watch the game differently there?
It's hard, it's hard, whether it's my youngest son or my daughter playing tennis in high school. It's like it's your blood, so you're emotionally invested as a father. But you know, in particular with him, in the academy, yeah, I also have some inside baseball knowledge of what's going on, and I know the game fairly well. So, how to be a dad and how to be a coach, and how I do that with him is I'm selective. I really rely on the coaches. I trust the coaches. I'm lucky that he is here, and I know these coaches. I know that they're taking care of him, both as a person, but also they're sharp. These coaches here that we've been hired are smart guys, and they're trained in development. And I feel really lucky that he's involved in the academy. It also keeps me close to the academy. Would I be as tight with some of these academy coaches and involved if my son wasn't? I don't know. I still like to think I would be, but I'm also realistic, and because he's involved in it, I have a more of an inside look on it and what they're doing and more opinions on it. So I think it's been good, but it's challenging. It's challenging.
Yeah, I think one thing that fascinates me is the fact that, head coaches aren't just coaches or managers, right? That's a term for you guys pretty much everywhere around the world. So, uh, over time, great managers refine how they deliver their message. Ben, how has your communication, with the players evolved, throughout your coaching career?
Well, it used to be my voice only, and I think that was a little bit of ego when I first started coaching. I wanted my voice to be everything, and I wanted to deal with training sessions and the game plan. And I think as I got older, I realized I'm not really good at everything, and I got some strengths, and I know what those are, and to really focus in on finding the right people around me. So, um, how you communicate to a 15-year-old, I'm actually better at it now because I have kids. But there was a period where I didn't have kids. I didn't know what a 15-year-old was, but I was coaching them, and I was 30, I was 41, and my kids were very little, and I didn't have as much experience in speaking to that new generation. Now I'm actually getting so old, I'm actually having experience with my own kids of how to coach the kids again, if that makes any sense. But um, again, Rudy, I still take the temperature every day and every week and what this team needs. And is it love? Is it a stick? Then it changes throughout the day. And at training, I go into it with a certain mentality, and I see something that, no, I have to, no, that's not right in this moment. Well, I have to maybe become this person. And that is just a constant. There's, again, you want an A, B, C. This is how I change my communication. Some of this is this, and I show up and I take a temperature, and sometimes I don't get that right. becomes I'm dealing with my own emotions, and that's more about me and yelling or screaming or not screaming. That's about me and where I'm at, and maybe not what the team is. I think I'm better at that and processing what the team needs versus what I need. Probably not so much as a young coach. Sometimes I'd yell when it was more selfish and it was about not really understanding what this group needs in this moment and putting my ego aside. So you grow. I think you grow, and I also lean on my staff a lot now because it doesn't always have to be my voice. My ego is less, and sometimes it's, uh, I can send an assistant coach to speak to somebody that they'll have a better, more productive conversation than maybe the head coach. And so, and I got plenty of good people around me that have my back. So I'm lucky in that way.
East Houston Dynamo FC head coach Ben Olsen. Ben, before we let you go, no results obviously is what drives everything. You guys want to win. You guys want to win trophies. But when the fans watch this team, what do you hope they feel about this group, this team this year, and just a message you have out there for the Dynamo fans?
Just that we're growing and we're slowly moving in the right direction. We've been able to get results. You know, is it as clear as we all want it to be right now? And is it from a purely aesthetic and putting at home getting 20 shots and keeping teams pinned in and how we would ideally want this to look like? It hasn't always looked that way, but I think they can most likely see that we're moving in the right direction and both in picking up points and also some of the identity stuff that you guys speak about. So that's it. And lastly, that it matters. And we got some characters out there that are still fun to watch. We got some nice individuals that, aren't always clicking, but I think they see that there's real talent on this team. And they've got some experience and some moxie that hopefully will take this team when we do start clicking, when all is said and done, that this team can put up real numbers, get themselves in a postseason and make a run at this thing.
Houston Dynamo, very busy May ahead, starting Sunday, LAFC in Los Angeles. Coach Ben Olsen, Coach, we really appreciate the time, the insight. Always good chatting with you. We'll do it again soon. Best of luck.
Okay, Dustyn, Rudy, thanks. Thanks for your support, man. See ya.